Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show. It is episode 85, lads. 85 weeks running. I think it's about 86 because we might have skipped a week. But anyway, my name is Paul. I'll be your host for the next 45 minutes or so. I'm joined by Alan and Kris, and we have a very special guest joining us for Meltdown Week in the Newcastle United community. We are happy to have Kris from the Gallowgate Shots fan channel and from the All With Smiling Faces podcast. Kris, welcome to the Irish Mags Show.
Thanks very much, boys. Thanks for having us. What a day we've decided to do this, eh?
On the day of recording, the entire Newcastle United fan base is freaking out over this Alexander Isak situation. So, yes, why not depress ourselves even further by talking about it? Kris, whenever we have new guests on the show, we do have to check if they have any Irish connections, visited Ireland, or if you hate Irish people, this is a great place for you to be.
Well, to answer your question, I have 0 Irish connections whatsoever. I have never been to Ireland. It's going well.
Oh my God.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But I do know the Rattling Bog song word for word.
Prove it.
You can't
One day I will.
that.
It's me party trick, so I can go right from the flea all the way back.
That's very impressive. I'll give you that because I know that.
So I learned it. I went on a lad's holiday to Tenerife, and there's a bar in Tenerife called the Dubliner Shock, and their band used to sing that song. So I thought I quite like that song. So I went home and I learned the lyrics to it. And it's me party trick. So once I've had a few rums, it comes out.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kris. I also know the words to it. So the next time I'm in Newcastle, I'm giving you a shout, and we're gonna
let's
bring
do
that
it
to the streets.
Oh, I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, you pay me to stop as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't do that song live in the podcast because there won't be enough time. It is a notoriously long song as well because it goes on for a little while. So we're going to dive into it, lads, and talk about Isak transfers, transfer window, club running, etc., etc. But before we do that, Kris, I just wanted to ask you, could you tell us and listeners a little bit about Gallowgate Shots in terms of the fan channel, the origins, obviously then the evolution through into the podcast and all that kind of stuff?
So Gallowgate Shots, what people probably don't know, unless you followed it from day one, it just started off as a Twitter account because I had a bit of an obsession with graphic design, and I'm saying at best, and I'm absolute amateur at graphic design, but everything which we put out on Gallowgate Shots, I normally do most of it. And I just had an idea where all I started doing was designing like some player material and stuff like that, and designing phone cases, believe it or not, when phone cases was still a thing, and just posters and key rings and what it may be. And at the time, you would have been looking at the likes of David Santon would have been playing, so that's how long ago it was. Right. And as the popularity of Gallowgate Shots grew, I saw a gap in the market for a podcast because I was a big fan of the Taylor and Bestie podcast, which was probably the original Newcastle United podcast many moons ago. And they stopped doing their podcast, and I thought, well, there's a bit of a gap there now because everything else which was getting put out was media based, and it wasn't really fan opinion at the point. So I thought, well, why not just try something? Like I said, there was a huge gap there, and out of just nowhere, I thought, well, I'm just going to buy a mixer and I'm going to buy a microphone. And me and Mark started the Gallowgate Shots podcast, and from there, it's just grew and grew. It's do you know what is? I think the thing which I pride myself most on Gallowgate Shots is that we've done this without any sort of advertisement or any sort of promotion. Really, we don't have that big of a backing behind when it comes to sponsorship. We don't do any sort of clickbait reactional stuff. We don't use emojis in with thumbnails that go out saying, "Look what was said. Newcastle United player said this," and we just carry on as we do. And you know, is what one of the things, and like I said, I pride myself on it is people that listen to our podcast and listen to what we put out on the YouTube channel. They always define it as it's kind of like sitting in the pub with your mates after a game. And that's exactly how I want it to be. I'm not doing it for a reaction. We're not doing it for like the clickbait sort of thing. We're not doing it to make money. Yes, it helps with the fun and the progression and updating everything. but we're just doing it because we love this football club, just like you lads. We love this football club. We love talking about it. Even in the bad times, we've been through some hellish years doing the podcast. But it's honestly, we just love doing it. It's like a therapy session on a Monday live show that we do with all the Smiling Faces podcast. And even though we argue quite a lot, and some people think that that's put on, it's not. I'm in that room and I'm hosting it, and the likes of Bessie, who's pretty laid back, but then you've got Mark and Decker that are constantly at each other, and people think that's put on. It's not. After we hit end recording, they're still going in the lift all the way back down to the cars. They're still going. I've got a video on my phone we have recorded after the live stream's gone out, and it's just them two bickering about something, not even football related. It's, do you know what it is? I think it's good chemistry that the four we've got, and honestly, I love doing it.
Yeah.
That's what you want. I mean, you talked about it being like therapy. I mean, sometimes I need therapy after spending an hour with these two lads here. You just
Can I just say something? Right, I do watch and listen to you, and the Sir Stroming video is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my whole life. Can you just, how bad was that stuff?
It's really hard to describe. So it came about because it was one of our members that had put it in, and they said, right, if you get X amount of members by the end of this live stream, will you do this challenge? And me stupidly thinking, well, we're not going to get that many. It happened within seconds. So we'll put it off, and we'll put it off to the point where I can't put it off any longer. So I bought it. And apparently the longer you leave it in the likes of a fridge, the worse it gets, the smell, and you can see. So it was in the fridge, and I put it in my girlfriend's fridge. And she kept on saying, "Chris, you're gonna have to get this out of my fridge," because it was slowly.
What is it? Is it?
It's fermented
fish.
Oh God! Okay.
So the tin kept on bulging. You could see. Think of a tin of tuna, but bigger. That was quite a size, and you could see it as the weeks went past. It was getting bigger and bigger, just bulging, ready to burst. Ugh. So we've done it on the quayside, Newcastle, by the cycle hub. Those that know where it is, we've done it there, and the second we opened that, we were surrounded by flies. That's how bad it was.
Oh, really?
It was disgusting, and it's I can't summarize. I can't explain how bad it was, because I used to watch these videos and think they're putting that on. It's not that bad. It's
I kind of thought that myself.
It's horrendous, but you know what? It was a good laugh. it was horrendous, but it was a good laugh.
It's genuinely one of the funniest things, and the lads have to go back and watch it because it's absolutely class.
It took 15 minutes to open the can.
Yeah.
I am going to go and watch it after, and I'm going to put a link then in the description for the podcast so people can actually go and have
do you know what is it? We're a Newcastle United fan channel, and that's got the highest views out of all videos.
Oh yeah, your fans really love you guys, don't they?
I know.
You can feel the love. Well, for all of those listening to this podcast now, if we get to 1,000 subscribers, we will not be doing any fermented fish challenges, but we'll have a pint and we'll drink it on stream.
Yeah.
Excellent, cool. Thanks for sharing all that, Chris. It's always good to hear kind of the origin stories, and as you said, particularly with fan channels, a lot of them are different in terms of the vibes, and it's good also to be able to say you're not one of those other kind of silly fan channels like many other football clubs have in this Premier League and beyond, because some of them are absolutely ridiculous, and I just can't understand how they're allowed on the internet. But we're still allowed on the internet, so
look, we just chat amongst ourselves, though, right? Me and Al kill each other once in a while. You referee it. You know, I say something sensational. Al disagrees with me. That's the way it is, and then
that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we like we were saying, Chris, we let people know what we're doing with the Irish Mags, meetups, and stuff like that. So it's informational a little bit, but then it's also us just basically trying to mirror essentially what our group of Irish Mags are giving out about. And specifically today was, I'm not joking.
There's the segue.
3,000. I think it's 3,600 messages currently, just within one of the groups.
Oh,
just from today, just in lunchtime, nearly. It's just furious back and forth.
Can I just double check? Is your group chat similar to ours? And we've got two. We've got a Telegram group which is for viewers, but then we've also got our podcast group, which is obviously anybody that does any sort of content creation is involved in that one. The difference in opinion is crazy, to the point where people will be offended by what somebody else has said, then they'll leave the group chat for a few days, then they come back.
Yep. It's
We
chaos.
we have a lot going on in our one that needs quite regular management and maintenance, I suppose. Alan is the best way I could politely put it. Alan's got his head in his hands for anyone who's not watching.
They all know when they see Al coming, they're in trouble.
I'm the jailer of the group, so there's 700 members, and I'm the one. There's 4 admin. It's utter chaos. So, and then like it's 24/7. Like you've lads who think Amanda Staveley was the best thing since sliced bread, and then you have others who think Darren Eales is the best thing since sliced bread, and for some reason the two of them want to kill each other. And you're going, well, like we're all Newcastle fans. Why are we arguing? And it just does not stop. And I mean, it's a good laugh most of the time, but sometimes you're going bit too much. But it is what it is.
Well, we have alluded to the fact that today is an emotional day in the Newcastle fan base. I think, lads, it was Craig Hope that kind of dropped the first kind of big bombshell saying...
Of course it was. Craig straight in there with the negativity.
Yes, yeah.
Prince of Darkness.
Kicking off the day in style with the news that Alexander Isak has apparently told the club that he would like to leave this summer specifically. This comes 2 weeks after we thought we'd have Ekitike and Isak up front, 1 week after Liverpool were trying to bring Isak in and then going for Ekitike. If they didn't get him, shit show. And now we get this breaking news today. I suppose, Kris, first reaction to when you saw this news kind of coming out today, were you surprised by it? Did you suspect this might be coming, or do you believe it's even true?
I've been really confident that we would keep Isak, especially the last week, especially when Liverpool came knocking the first time around. We said he's not for sale. Like, I was unbelievably confident. I think it was quite telling, Eddie Howe's comments after the Celtic game, that Isak had been affected by the rumours, and he had made the decision to send him back to Newcastle and not be around the cameras. You don't normally hear Eddie speak freely like that. He normally keeps his cards close to his chest, and he always has done since the day he's walked into the football club, apart from last summer when Mitchell was appointed. Then he went in front of the cameras. Once again, it was pre-season. He said he's not sure in regards to the relationship at the club, that he didn't know where he stood. And I think when when Eddie Howe speaks that freely in front of cameras, you know something's not right, and he's either trying to make a point, or he's basically giving you a tiny little peek behind the curtain as to what's going on. I think as the days have passed now, and we saw the photos and the videos of Isak training by himself, which is telling. You hear the agent's rumours of that Isak wants 300 grand a week. Then the more snippets that you're hearing at this point, you're thinking, you can see which way this is going. The path was laid out long before this, but we're just seeing it now. Then, like you said, when it breaks today, that it was first reported the club, wasn't it, saying that Isak wouldn't be travelling because he's got a calf strain or a thigh strain or something like that. It was, and you're thinking, one of them, is it? One of them injuries that is going to stop him from going. And remember, yes, it's pre-season, but this is global marketing for this. This is what Newcastle are saying this. We're going to Asia to showcase our brand without our top striker. And you're thinking that's a strange decision to make. Then as the days gone on, we found out that it's Isak which is pushed to say, no, I'm not going. I'm just not going away. And now we're looking at negotiations for contracts have just been completely binned off now. And it looks like there's no way of recovering this right now. I think now I'm at the point where I'm thinking we're struggling to keep a hold of him now. And I think Newcastle have just got to move on and get these deals done as quickly as possible. Have them all lined up in a row, because as soon as we bring money in for Isak, if that does happen, clubs are going to know how much we've sold him for. And that's going to make our transfer business even harder. And we've struggled already so far. So honestly, I'm really struggling to find any positives from today.
It's a tough one. The fact that it's not just the fact that it's being said, it's also who's saying it. Like Ornstein is obviously tweeting about it, who's one of the most reliable and usually doesn't put stuff out there. So, this is growing legs. Alan, I suppose before we start talking about, like, I hate even mentioning the words life after Isak, who could actually, where could he go? Because this isn't just about the player saying he wants to leave. Somebody's going to have to front up a shitload of cash for Alexander Isak. Liverpool obviously have just spent 80 million on Ekitike. they're gone over the 200 million mark. Chelsea have already spent quite a lot. Where does Alexander Isak end up going if it happens?
I was thinking about this earlier, and a mad thing came into my head. Real Madrid are actively trying to sell Rodrigo, and Vinny Jr. has been linked with a move to Saudi. Mbappe wants to play on the left. They sell Rodrigo. They sell Vinny Jr. Mbappe moves out to the left. They come in for Isak. That's one position. That's one place they could go to. Bayern is another one. They have Kane. They've dropped 100 million on Kane. Come here. If they turned around to us and were like, we'll give you 100 million and Kane, I'd snap the hand of that, because we could then say we have the top goal scorer or record Premier League goal scorer 1 and 2. Get that done and dusted.
Yeah.
Or you're kind of praying PSG would come in, but I can't see them coming in. They're not going down the Galacticos route anymore. And then you're looking at Liverpool and Chelsea, because Arsenal can't afford it. Man United are just in the mud. Man City don't need them. Inter's ACs, there's not enough money in the Italian football. You're kind of, Barca don't have the money either. They're pulling levers left, right, and centre. So there's 4 clubs can sign them, and I hate saying it. It's probably going to be Liverpool.
Well, here's an interesting thing, right? And just off the back of that, right? And it's very coincidental that in the last couple of weeks, Chelsea bought strikers, Liverpool bought strikers, Arsenal bought strikers, and anyone who was really going to be sniffing around at the gates of St. James's, they've already got their striker options bought and paid for. So I was kind of thinking, if this would have just happened a week ago, I mean, this would have been done and dusted. He probably would have went to Liverpool. He would have been there already. Would have seen pictures in the jersey already. But it's like as if I can't believe that's why I was kind of hoping. And here's my hope. And again, Kris, this is just me with my crazy brain. I'm kind of thinking this is all just a play by the club. This is all just like, I know what you're kind of thinking. We're listening to David Ornstein, Craig Hope, Fabrizio Romano, and Sky and so on. But nothing's actually officially came from the club, really, about all of this. Isak hasn't actually said anything, nor has his agent. And yet people are reporting that they have said something. Today it was either he was exploring his options, which is a very polite way of saying he asked to leave. So it was being reported very, very different ways. And I'm kind of thinking, A, they're not going to sell him because he's not for sale. B, they don't have to, so they won't sell him. And C, they're kind of hoping, I think, that Eddie Howe is going to work his man management wonders again, just for another season, just to keep him and keep him happy, and bring in a couple of players to complement the team. And Isak will just have to swallow his meatballs and play for the season.
I think I would be very shocked as a fan to hear the club come out and put their cards on the table. And the player wouldn't do it. The player category is not going to come out and say anything. Players these days tend to keep quiet until deals are done. Then let's say if it is somebody like Liverpool, it'd be like, oh, it was always Liverpool. That was the only place that I was interested in going. I think that's something that you'll get afterwards. I think the club are doing the right thing by not speaking up. I think Eddie probably dropped a bollock after the Celtic game by saying that this was the reason why Isak wasn't playing and so on. But I think Eddie's done it on purpose as well, just to show, like I said, a little bit of peek behind the curtain. I think if we're going to bring players in to complement Isak, I think it would have already been done by now. I think the club are being shown up a little bit in this transfer window. Not necessarily but for our own fault. I think, yes, you can point your finger at the club a little bit, but I think we've probably tried to shop at a market that we shouldn't have been doing this early on. I think we're going up against the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal to buy these players. And if you're going to get an option as a player to play for one of those clubs, Newcastle's going to be a little bit further down your list than the rest of them, unfortunately. And that's just where we are at the moment. Hence why the likes of the Elanga deal, it's through. Because Elanga didn't have a better option. That was his best option. That was his stepping stone in his career, going from Forest to Newcastle. And I think maybe the club have been a little bit naive in this situation. We spent 2 years looking at Pedro, and Pedro never wanted to come to Newcastle. Of course he didn't. We knew early on that if there's going to be a choice between Newcastle and Chelsea, that he was going to go to Chelsea, and we've just wasted the time there. It's just, I don't know. You look at Trafford, like Trafford deal's been going rolling on and rolling on. Then as soon as Man City is the interest for the buyout, then that just stalls as well. I think the club are a little bit to blame. It probably doesn't help that there's no senior management there taking control of things, and we've shot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, and it probably didn't help the fan base when around the same time Craig Hope was tweeting out about Isaac. The club just put a picture of Bruno and Joe Linton on the plane to Singapore. Everything's happy. We're all having a great time.
Well, do you know what it is?
Everyone's
I've just mentioned this in our chat that we do, and I'm not against that, because the club's got to keep on taking over, and the club's going to showcase their brand, and this is what they're doing right now. So because Isaac's unhappy and Isaac doesn't want to be at this football club, that shouldn't stop the club from promoting what we are right now and promoting the players that are there and wanting to go further with the club. I'm all for it, and yes, fan reaction, they're going to jump on that and being like, oh, like you've got such a nerve posting this right now, and right when this is going on.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I would look.
I was swearing. Sorry, I'm just swearing.
No, it's all good. The guy, the young lad, the South Korean that got announced today.
Yes.
I mean, the comments underneath were shocking. I mean, honestly, they could have just said "Welcome to the club," onwards and upwards. Can't wait to see you playing or whatever. But it was all just Isaac. Signs of players. I think the fan base, just as well, a certain percentage should have, and maybe we're a little bit included too, kind of got carried away with ourselves a little bit, winning the cup, getting into the Champions League, and maybe that's where it's kind of come from. Let's show ambition, but we're fishing in the wrong pond. We haven't got a big enough rod to catch these fish. Like.
Speak for yourself. Sorry. No.
I said something the other day in our group chat, and it was that we are arguably still ahead of where we should be when it comes to what happened with the takeover. So us getting Champions League twice in 3 seasons is unbelievable, but it's given fans an expectation that, we're a Champions League side, we've won a cup, we've done this, and we're gone. Bar 13 of our players, we have an awful lot of players who we need to replace. We do not have a fantastic squad, and I hate saying it, Villa sold Grealish and reinvested that 100 million. Spurs sold Bale, built a stadium and reinvested it. It's looking like we're going to have to sell Isaac and potentially reinvest that. I've said it so many times in our group chat, not one player is bigger than our club. At the end of the day, our entire club was sold 3.5 years ago for £350 million. They're now talking about one singular player of that team costing the guts of £150 million. Where we have come from to where we are now, I hate when people say, oh, you're a happy clapper if you say this type of thing. You're not. I've watched us lose championship games and gone, oh, what the hell am I doing spending my money coming over to this shite? But I still did it week after week after week. And now I'm going, well, we're finally looking like we're up to something. We're still a couple of years away from being really knocking on that door of being a big six side. I hate saying that as well, because we're better than Man United.
I think the issue is, Alan, is that we've got to this point of progression. And I probably disagree slightly. I think the first time we got Champions League, yes, well ahead of schedule. That was ridiculous how quick we'll pull that one off. I think now, I think the club always were looking at a cup competition going very far in that, which we did last season. 3 years on, I think that's probably where we are. Yes, we've got the benefit of getting Champions League, but I agree to that aspect. The squad just isn't there. You just can't compete in the Champions League. But I think to say we're 2 years away, I think from what we're seeing now is as our star player, we can't give him the wage that he deserves. And the other football clubs around, so the top 6, I'm going to say, in inverted brackets, are able to do that. So I feel as if when we've put all this work in behind the scenes to pinpoint these talents in the likes of Isaac, Bruno, Tonali, you can even throw Hall and Livramento in there as well, just how good they've been. And we get at that point where we're so hopeful going into this transfer window, thinking right now is our time to go to the next level, whatever that next level may be, whether that's securing top 4 spot, once again going far in a cup competition, or advancing the Champions League, whatever you want to put that success as. I think we're going to get to that point. And the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea are going to come in and just knock we down a few more pegs. And I think it's always going to be that case. 2 years down the line, it could be Tonali that we're having this conversation about. It could be Bruno. It could be Hall, Livramento. It's unless things change behind the scenes, I don't think Newcastle are ever going to get to that point so we can be involved in that, because the more commercially we grow, which we've struggled to do since, yes, it's improved, but we're still struggling to do this day, hence why We don't have any heavy investment in regards to training ground sponsors or whatever that may be. I think the more we progress, the teams in the top 6 are even higher ahead, even further away. And I think, you know what is it? And I've mentioned this on a podcast, which I've done as well. Where is the incentive for any sort of owner to come and purchase a football club these days? So let's say, I don't know, somebody goes and buys Palace, Brentford, somebody like that, with no disrespect to them, and wants to take them to the next level. Look at what's happened to us. Look what's happened to Villa. You get to a certain point, then you just knock back down. And unless things change behind the scenes with the Premier League, and we know PSR was brought in to protect teams from going bust, like load of shit.
It wasn't.
Like we know why it was brought in. Hence why there's so many hurdles and speed bumps put in Newcastle United's way before the takeover went through. I think the issue is that unless things change behind the scenes, we're going to be having this conversation for a hell of a long time.
Yeah, and I think it's just for me, it all comes back to money in terms of what we can. There's a PSR shit which we've blown out our ears talking about it, but just like the sheer volume of money available. When you look at the salaries, you know, if you go down and you look at what Liverpool are paying some of their players, you know, but like, I mean, the thing that baffles me, lads, is like Mason Mount makes double what Alexander Isak currently makes. Just think about that for a minute. You know what I mean?
Well, the likes of Liverpool can go and get a player and quadruple their wages instantly. Yeah. We can't do that.
They could arguably do it with Isak, which is shocking. Like, to say that they could literally just go in and go, we could triple your wages if you want, and it not be that big of a deal to them. And you're going,
wouldn't even put a dent in it, drop in the ocean for them.
Exactly, yeah. So that is what we're competing against, unfortunately. So you can kind of understand, but obviously, yeah, it's been another frustrating window so far.
This is such a happy one, isn't it, lads?
I know. Well, yeah, we're gonna liven things up now.
No, I was going to say, Chris, do you think we're going to lose Eddie Howe because he's not getting back? And he starts and has a bad season, and by January we're 12th, and all of a sudden Eddie Howe's like, well, fuck this, I'm out of here. Like,
I think the longer this saga goes on, I think you appreciate how good of a manager Eddie Howe is. He's had so many restrictions put in his way, and to do what he's done with this group of lads is second to none. He's a fantastic manager. I think as the seasons keep on rolling over, he must get fed up. Come on, he was in hospital last season, at the end of last season with pneumonia, and he's on holiday with his family. He gets a phone call saying, "You need to come back. With Paul Mitchell's gone." You're thinking, well, come on, man. Like, he should be had all that summer off and with his feet up and only being contacted if needs be. And I think he's going to be getting frustrated. Whether or not he would down tools and leave, I'd be very shocked to see that. I think he'll have a big point to prove as well. I can't see it happening, to be fair.
Okay.
Well, inevitably, some club is going to sack a manager within a few months of the league kicking off. And if it's a fairly big club, things will start to get spoken about. Or alternatively,
that's the issue, I think.
Yeah,
I think that is the issue.
Going to be in England for a lot. You know, he's only a short-term kind of a manager, really, for the England job. So all of this shit is due to come around in a vicious circle once more. Speaking of movement, then, okay, it feels like we're all accepting the potential of Alexander Isak leaving Newcastle United, which, again, 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have dreamed of mentioning that on the podcast. Too depressing. Replacements, right? In addition to some of the players who are already linked to it, naturally, as soon as this comes out that Isak wants to leave, it doesn't take long for the rumor mill to start churning. And Kris, there's one kind of big name that's come out today in terms of being realistic interests, and it's Benjamin Šeško of RB Leipzig, who was heavily linked with Arsenal, but they've obviously now gone for Gyökeres. He's been linked with multiple clubs. He's been touted around the place for years. Myself and Alan have been signing him in Football Manager for about 6 years by now. Do you see this as substance and also realistic replacement in terms of us being able to sign him and him being good enough to come in and fill those big Swedish boots?
Well, we've been linked with him for a little while. But before this all surfaced about Isak, and I was always questioning, thinking, if we're looking at a player like that, I can't say Isak's sticking around because he's got zero versatility. Like, he's a striker. That's what he is. Whereas when all this kicked off about Isak, we're looking at the likes of Pedro, somebody that was more versatile, Ekitike, that could play in a number of roles. And you could even look at Wissa, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon. He's very versatile, where he can drop on the wings and play that striker role. I think now that we're showing him what now and throwing him out in the ring, is that is going to be the Alexander Isak replacement if it does happen. He comes with huge admiration from across the world, to be fair. And yes, I think if we were to sell Isak, if we go out immediately and bring him in along with somebody like Wissa, I think, and right, Alexander Isak, who, like, let's give these two odds our back and let's just go all guns blazing, prove that we can kick on without Isak. And it's money in the bank. It's just, I don't know. Bringing two strikers in at the same time, you never know what's going to happen. But I think it can't just be one. We're looking at one before this happened with Isak, so it needs to be two now. And I think that the two players that I've just mentioned, I think those are the two that we're going to be heavy invested in now, and we've got to get it done quick.
Great.
Yeah.
The only problem with Sesko is Arsenal walked away from him because of his wage demands.
But apparently he wants more than Ekitike, wasn't it? And his numbers weren't even as good.
No, so that's the problem with that. He has to drop his wage demands seriously if he's even going to be considered by us. So, yeah.
Oh,
that old chestnut. Interesting. Like, he is a good striker. He is a bit more raw. There's a bit more risk involved. But as Kris said there, like, if he was to come in alongside somebody like Wissa, who for probably at least 2 seasons in a row has been like very consistent, available, scores goals, creates, is versatile. And isn't young, like he's 28 or something like that. So that
just
might help
29.
mitigate it.
Just 29.
Just turned 29. Happy birthday!
Nearly.
A couple of weeks away.
Is he okay? We'll put it in the calendar. But yeah, again, there is still an element of risk when you're bringing in a player from a different league, and Eddie Howe has long been associated with not being a huge fan of bringing players in from different leagues. So this is far from the ideal solution, I would imagine. And it'll be interesting to see if anything kind of materializes. Alan, the other one that a lot of talk kind of appeared in the last couple of days as well was Randall Kolo Muani, who is of PSG, moved there for a big fee, went on loan to Juventus, I think, for the second half of last season. French international, is a good striker, scores lots of goals. Is he similar to Isak? Is he considerable to be a replacement as well?
He is similar in a sense that he can play on the wing as well. I thought he had joined Juve on another year-long loan. I don't know.
Don't think so. No, I thought he went.
I thought he did.
They have money issues.
I can't see him coming in, to be honest with you, purely because he just doesn't look like he's going to be an out-and-out striker for a team. He couldn't get in ahead of Gonzalo Ramos, who couldn't get in ahead of Dembele. He's gone to Juve and hasn't exactly lit the world on fire with them. So is he going to come to the Premier League, which is the hardest league in the world, and light it up again? I don't really think that's going to be an option.
And to hit the ground running.
Like what we mentioned before, Moise Keane, the guy that used to play for Everton.
He's gone to Turkey, isn't he?
Has he gone to Turkey? Has he?
Yeah, he's gone somewhere. He's just not good enough. Like,
no,
we need someone who's going to come in and be ready to go, and that's gonna be so difficult to find.
What about Openda?
Openda is a Wissa alternative. He's not an Isak alternative. I've been banging the Openda drum for a while. He is not he's a striker, yes, but he's not an out and out number 9. I will stand there and put the ball in the back of the net for you. He's the one you play in behind the striker to kind of link the midfield.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
As long as it's not Dominic Calvert-Lewin as the replacement.
It's heading down that route, isn't it?
It is heading down that route.
You know what?
I think too late to ring Callum Wilson. No,
I think if it was Wissa, I'm a big fan of him, and he scored the most goals in the Premier League from open play last season. Didn't take a single penalty at Brentford, and you know for fine well, if you're looking at a player that can come and deliver straight away, he's probably the one. The issue that the club might have is obviously the sell-on value. There's not going to be anything there, and throw in the fact that he will miss a hell of a lot of games throughout January which also contains Champions League games when he goes away for the African Cup of Nations as well. That's a huge risk there. So hence why you need to bring two in, because Asula's not ready. I'm not sure if he'll ever be ready. And I don't know. I think you need to it's such a horrible position that we're in now, because I'm talking now as if Isak's gone. We could be here 2 weeks' time and Isak's ready to go. Honestly, the amount of things that have been changing over the last week within a 24-hour basis, this will go out and he's got a number 9 shirt.
Oh, like there must be somebody else, right? I get the Wissa thing, right? He's scored goals. Okay, good, Al. Thanks, because
Ivan Toney.
He's been mentioned a couple of times in our chat as well.
No way, really? Toney?
Look, he's a dick. He's a dickhead mercenary who went for the money. He's done his 1.5 years, nearly 2 years over in Saudi. I think with the ownership we have, we might be able to get it on a bit of a nicer deal than anyone else would get. The only thing is he's on a big bucket of money over there. He'll have to take a massive pay cut coming to us. But with it being a World Cup year,
what if we bring back Tony and Mitrovic and just go pure Newcastle 2018 vibes? Or something?
Yeah.
Ring and Bamba, get him back as well.
Man Red were looking at signing Mitrovic. I think there was mentions.
There was talks.
There was a few weeks ago. Yeah, it was.
Mad, isn't it?
I think with Tony, do you know what it is? I love Tony as a player before he went to Saudi. I've just not kept up with what he's done over there. But I think we all know that Eddie Howe's got this no dickhead policy at Newcastle. You've got to be the right fit, and you've got to have those background checks done with Eddie. And we're to the point where if you watch the Dan Burn podcast that he did with Jake Humphries, he mentions that Eddie Howe had been calling his mates and family members just to get like sort of character reference as if he was going for a job without Burn realizing. Whether Tony's that would pass that,
think so.
I've got huge concerns. Well, also all the videos that were going around with Tony when he was a Brentford player, saying that I don't even want to be a Brentford player and so on. I don't. Maybe he's matured a lot. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I can't see it either. It's like Ekitike with his handbag. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that would have worked out quite well. Me coming into the AD with his handbag. No,
probably wouldn't. Probably wouldn't be fond of that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different names going around. One of my biggest concerns is what Kris, you alluded to, is if we do sell Isak to somebody for 150 million, everyone's going to know that we're walking around with a big bag of money and ready to spend. And that includes players, agents, salaries, clubs, transfer fee, the whole lot, It's actually not necessarily ideal, but equally what that 150 million would do, like to Alan's point, whereby, we'd be able to reinvest in that will actually help lift the club in the longer term sense. I just hate the thought of selling Isak to a rival, to a top, 4 or 5 rival versus him going overseas. The one we didn't touch on was that there was a loose link, Kris, to Isak going to Saudi. As much as we're talking about Tony or Mitrovic coming back, I'm trying to get my head around it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, from the player's perspective, I don't understand why he would want to go there. And he's in terms of his age, his profile, and the options. But if they are the club willing to put up the most amount of money, I can't remember which of them it is. I had it written down.
Al Hilal.
I think it was Al Hilal.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are the club that are willing to pay what Newcastle would want, and obviously
500,000 a week.
His wages.
Yeah, 500,000 a week.
I think it's already been ruled out from Isak.
Romano said it's not happening.
Yeah, they've already came out and said it's just not what he wants to do. The player's got the power here, and it's really frustrating. It really is, because we either offer Isak the wage that he's demanding, whether that be 300 grand a week, which we physically can't do, because if we're investing that much in regards to a player's wage, then that just ruins whatever else we can do in the transfer window. It's also going to have players knocking on the door, like Tonali, Bruno, Joe Linton, and I know Bruno and Joe Linton got a new contract last season, I think, or maybe season before. They got a bit of a bumper, so I don't think that would be immediate. But bringing new players in, they'll be look at certain situations of, well, he's making 300 grand a week. Like, well, that I'm way off that. I think the rumors with going to Saudi, I think I immediately took them with a pinch of salt, because, like you just mentioned, age profile, he's not going to go over there. Isaac doesn't want to go over there. Isaac wants to compete with things. He's not towards the end of his career. He wants to win the Premier League. He wants to win the Champions League. So rightly so. Like, he wants to take the next step in his career. And I feel as if Isaac's probably thought that Newcastle put a bit of a hurdle in front of him by not opening those initial conversations with Liverpool. Yeah. I think Newcastle tried to be a bit clever with that situation. And I think it's came and backfired massively on with, because you've got the likes of Liverpool that went and took our next choice after Pedro in Ekitike. And it looks like they're going to steal Isaac as well. They're in the position that we thought we were going to be in last week. And Liverpool have the funds to do it. And if they do, they are going to be dangerous next season. Very, very dangerous, which worries me, because I think when the Premier League, if it's the same clubs winning it over and over again, it devalues the competition massively. And as a football fan, I've had my season ticket for 15 years, I think it is now. And I'm at the point now where I'm thinking, yes, I'm enjoying those moments and I love going to the game. But what are we getting from it as a football club? What's the next goal? And yes, I know we had it last season with winning the cup, and winning the cup was one of the best moments of my life as a football fan, probably up there as the best. I don't know. Where do we go from here? Like, it's really frustrating as a football fan. It really is that you grow to love these players, and you think that they're going to die for this football club. They're not football fans. They're not fans of this football club. They're going to move on. They're going to want it to progress their career. And who are we to stand in his way? I think the fallouts came because we promised that we would enter negotiations for a contract, and Mitchell's left, and it just hasn't happened. And I think we've only got ourselves to blame.
This is what has happened. And then, like, you couple that with somebody who wore Newcastle true and true in his heart, on his chest, getting sold to Leeds down the road for 12 million quid. 12 million quid. Okay, it was. Some people say it's a good price. Some people say it's not so great. But, like, it's just the litany and inconsistency of communication that's come out. Longstaff gets sold. We're going for Ekitike. We didn't get Ekitike. Isaac wants to leave. We're signing some guy from Korea that not a lot of people locally or would have heard about, even though he's like the number 2 talent in Korea. He's probably going to be a superstar. But it's just the inconsistency in communication that's coming out. It's just, I think it's got everybody in a complete spin, especially, like you said, Al, that the expectation of this summer was that we were going to nail this. Like, Eddie wanted them in quick, 4 or 5 players. They don't have to be world beaters, £100 million players, but people that we trusted, that Eddie knew and wanted, and they'd worked it out all year. The one thing that we were saying just before the podcast started is that it is very telling. It's another Eddie Howe thing, where he said that he was surprised when he got the call about Mitchell. So I had thought that it happened at that Sunday transfer kind of showdown after the final game of the season. They had a difference of opinion and Mitchell walked, but it looks to me like that wasn't the case at all, that him and Mitchell and the lads were actually working quite well together. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he's gone.
I think it proves that the media's got such an influence on how we think, because I was exactly the same. When we heard about the meeting that Eddie Howe afterwards, and once again, it was one of those moments that Eddie doesn't do very often, where he comes out and throws it all and goes, right, this is what I've said. I want action. I think we were all led to believe that there was some sort of fallout between Eddie Howe and Mitchell. If you remember when they went to see the boxing, when we'd done one trip to Saudi, and they made them sit near each other, and it was really awkward. I think the media's probably drove us down that path to thinking that it's Eddie that's forced Mitchell to leave the club. Then obviously it came out now that Eddie's saying that he didn't have a clue, and he was on holiday, and he was as shocked as everybody else. I think it just highlights that the media can't be trusted to a certain extent. Hence why we've had so many different changes in stories over the last week at this Batched Football Club. I think you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt and just come up with your own opinion on everything.
One normal window. That's all we ask for.
Yeah.
One normal fucking window.
Kris, we'll give you a free plug, as your podcast is suitably named All With Smiling Faces. You just got to keep that face smiling. Everything is fine while the whole world is burning down around.
Do you know what it is? It is fine. Like, yes, it seems shit at the minute, but it is fine. Like, Players move on. Like, it happens. It's happened right the way through my life as a football fan, and it's happened way before that as well. Like, all you need to do is go back and look at the time like Keegan was stood on the steps when Andy Cole was sold. It happens. Like, we're just got to move on with it. Even the top clubs do it. Just look at Liverpool in the situation with Trent. They didn't want him to go. He ran his contract down. He was gone. Liverpool, like you mentioned before, Alan, that the likes of Villa were able to reinvest after selling Grealish, Spurs with Bale when he went as well. Liverpool were in a similar situation when they sold Coutinho. Like, he went and then they were able to reinvest this. It happens as long as you trust those to go and reinvest that money on top talent, then everything will be fine. As a football fan, we'll move on. We'll have a great season next year. It's just whether or not I trust those to bring in the right players. That's my issue right now, because do you know what is? We've not scored many own goals since PIF took over. It's been very smooth sailing when it comes to how well we've done in transfer market and doing our business. And I think over the last, not even the last week or two, I think over the last few months, we've seen a couple of issues, and whether that's the club crest changing, which is a whole different thing, whether it's the stadium, whether we're expanding St. James's Park, if we're moving, everything's gone very, very quiet after the club have opened conversations with fans. I was there at the Stack event where they mentioned the potential of moving stadium, and that was, I want to say, October. And we've heard nothing since. Like, we're promised that it was going to be happening soon, and we'll find out soon. We've not heard a single thing. The same with the club crest. And do you know what it is? I'm not totally against the club crest. I understand the reasons why they're changing it. I don't think it needs to be changed, but I kind of understand why. But come out and have conversation with fans. Like, don't go quiet all of a sudden. Like, we've had 2 directors of football in the last 2. Well, we haven't even nailed it in consecutive seasons. Like, the changing left, right, and centre, and it's not functional right now. It shouldn't be the way it is. And the more it happens, and you're probably right. Since Staveley and Meredith, because he left, that it's gone a bit tits up in that boardroom scenario. But then you can even look at those 2 as well and think that they were flying close to the sun when it came to likes of PSR, and we could have had a point deduction, hence why we had to go and sell Elliot Anderson, and which I still hate to this day because he's such a talent. I still hate that. I think we've got to take ownership of this one and blame ourselves to a certain extent, because this whole thing with Isaac especially could have all been done and dusted at the end of last season. We could have offered him a new contract before Liverpool were lurking, and it would have all been done and dusted. So I think, we have to blame ourselves. Like, we really do at the end of the day. But it'll be fine, man. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
The most important thing we do this summer is get the director of football, get the appointment right. We cannot fuck up another director of it. We can't have 3 in 3 years and be looking for the 4th one in 4 years. Like,
it's one of those roles in a football club that you don't see the benefits of it until 5 years into their tenure. That's the issue. Like, we saw glimpses when what's his tits? I forgot his name now. Ashworth. When Ashworth came in. And we saw glimpses of things changing behind the scenes, and he came out and he spoke very, very well in front of the camera. And I don't blame the club for that one. I think when Man United come knocking, he was probably always going to go. Then you see it's gone tits up with him as well at Man United. And he was straight out the door before he even started. And I don't know. I think the Mitchell one, I don't know if that was mates scratching each other's back, because he was good friends with Darren Eales. And we've taken, 12 months to when we're still having a replacement, somebody to take over from Eales. I think it's really frustrating that we haven't got that right. And I think once you get that right, you'll see everything else improve as well, whether that's recruitment and whatever. Commercial, I think that's got a huge question mark over it as well. But I think we'll see a change eventually, but we need to get the right person in bums on seats. That's
who's the guy? Who's the ex-Rangers guy? The
Ross Wilson. Ross Wilson.
He's somebody I think that they're potentially looking at, right?
I mean,
we did
Forest as well, wasn't it?
We did sign a technical director. This guy Sudarshan Gopaladici. It was very hard to pronounce his surname. I saw a very good tweet. It was like, Sudarshan Gopaladiski's technical directing mags or something. It's just like very complicated. So look, there's some movement, I suppose, but I think we're all pretty aware.
He
now
looks
with
he
5
looks
weeks.
like a briefcase wanker. Do you know what I mean? Like he does though.
He loves stats.
Well, I mean-
like his
Yeah.
job is data.
Yeah.
He should have a briefcase at all times on him.
Yeah.
100%. It's full of spreadsheets.
Absolutely.
But if you look at the players that he was involved in signing for Atalanta, he has brought
Yeah.
in some absolute gems out of nothingness. So like that's exactly what you want in this type of job. So it looks like a good pick, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I think
Fingers
the key
crossed.
thing here, we need to reset our expectations collectively as a group of Newcastle fans. Just reset them a little bit and not kind of get ahead of ourselves, because the business model is not ahead of Eddie Howe's achievements. Eddie Howe has overachieved. Let's be frank here. Maybe you don't agree, Kris, but I think he's overachieved.
I think it
in
just
the 3
takes
years.
it just takes the love away slightly, and the enjoyment away. If you think, right, well, this is as far as we can go. Like what else do we want? What else do we expect? I think now, as a football club, I think this is where we should be very excited. We should be unbelievably excited. We've had the best season that we've ever had as a football club, winning the cup and getting Champions League. I think right now we as a fan base, we should be buzzing, which we were 3 weeks ago. We're unbelievably buzzing at the end of the season. And as the transfer window's panned out, it's slowly kicking with. It really is. And we all want the best for this football club. And I could just go back and I think it is the restrictions. And yes, maybe I don't think we necessarily have to take a step back in regards to what we expect. So I don't think anybody's demanding it. But I think we should still have some positivity in regards to the club can still go forward. It's just, it all depends on factors changing. Until those change, but we're going to be hindered and we're going to be restricted in regards to what we can do in regards to player recruitment and contract negotiations. And we're talking about this now. Isaac, like I said, there'll be another player that we're going to hit this exact same hurdle with unless things change and we get better at dealing with commercial aspects. But you know for fine, well, we'll bring a deal in and the Premier League will say, well, we're not approving that because it's not fair market value. Like, there's always going to be somebody to knock we're back.
I said before the podcast started, I was like, this could be the stick up the rocket up the arse of the club where they go, do you know what? We're going to sue you under anti-competitiveness, like rules and regulations, to the fact where why can't we put our own money into our own business? You're stopping us from growing our business. You're stopping us from making money. That is not legal. Now, look, it's a pie in the sky kind of talk, but like it's something like that is going to have to happen. I hate saying it. I now pray Man City win their 115 charges.
That opens doors.
That's exactly it. Now you're now hoping that the baddie wins because you're like, well, they're hamstringing us. They've actively brought in all these rules to stop us from joining that club.
Oh, we the baddies now.
Yeah, we're gonna join them. Like I would now, if the club came out and went, you know what, Isaac can have 400 grand a week. We're gonna go out. We're gonna table a bit of 150 million for someone else and go. We're gonna take a 5 to 10 point deduction next season, but we're gonna sue you into oblivion if you try to actually implement that because it's commercially not fair on us. It's not gonna happen, but it's something. A threat even could do an awful lot to the Premier League where they go, oh, hang on, these could actually back us into a corner to the point where we lose and they are the winners of everything, where they can go and do whatever they want.
I think we'll have to look at club power as well. We're talking about these top elite six.
The big six.
Look at the rest of the Premier League clubs. The rest of them need to take a stance here and think, hang on, this happening in Newcastle. Newcastle are the richest club in the world. Yeah. Like, what chance do we have right now? That's what you have to look at.
It's this, and I seen it on Twitter earlier. It was when they brought in the rules. It was, we don't want too many Leicester Cities happening, and I went, like, what the fuck is that like? How can you actively come out and say, oh, we don't want anyone other than us winning? That's not fair. That a new team is going to win it. That's not part of our clique. What are you talking about? It's a competition. Anyone can win. At the end of the day, it's not. It should be any one of the 20 on day one could potentially win this league. Look, don't get me wrong. It's never, ever going to be like that. But to say we don't want anyone joining in to the title race is beyond outrageous. Like, that's a joke. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
And look, we've continued to surprise people, I think, as a club, and whether that's sustainable, maybe not. We've got 5-6 weeks left in the window to try and turn things around. Well, not turn things around, but we need to see a lot happen, I suppose, in those 4 or 5 weeks ahead of us. And we'll be here doing Irish Mags shows every week until the dawn of time. Kris,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining
Thanks,
us
Kris.
on the Irish Mag Show this week.
No problem, boys.
Can you tell our listeners where they can find you, but don't give them your postcode and current location?
Yes, you can. So all you need to do is search for Gallagher Shots. For some reason, I created 2 titles for a podcast: Gallagher Shots and Always Smiling Faces podcast, which makes no sense whatsoever. So I don't know why I ever did that.
Branding.
Branding.
Exactly. You can always find us, but yeah, we're not so active on social media these days because there's absolute cesspit and it's the most miserable place on the planet. But we are putting podcasts out, and obviously the YouTube channel. All you need to do, like I said, is search for Gallagher Shots. At the minute, we've got about 5-6 shows going out a week. It's absolutely bonkers at the minute. We can't get enough of this misery.
You love it.
But every Monday is basically our flagship show, which is the All Smiling Faces podcast.
Okay, excellent.
Awesome.
The links for all of those will be in the description below, as are all the links to the Irish Mag socials and, of course, the irishmags.com website. All of the latest information and content is on there. We'll be back next week for some more Irish Magnus. Hopefully, some more positive things to talk about. This was
No players left this time this week.
We just need to get some gifs of Jacob Murphy smiling out in Singapore, and that'll all feel better. Again. That'll be fine. So yes, we'll be back again next week. Until then, we shall say how are the lads, Slán go full, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you, Alan, Kris, and of course, listeners and viewers. Have a good week.